Volunteers bring history alive in reenactments at historical events at clubs and societies created for that purpose. Travel Television shares some of these reenactments and talks with the volunteers.
We're the Chris Jones family, and we're here volunteering. Volunteering is a family thing.
I would say that if there's one benefit to this, it's you get to walk through history in ways that other people don't get to.
Attention!
It's just like fun because you get to participate in history, and also I get to hang out with my family because they've been doing this for a long time.
You meet a lot of people and you meet a lot of kids, and that's what the future's about, seeing these kids come and their eyes go wide when you show them how to do something, how to play a game, what the dollies looked like back then, what the boys played with. That's it.
And if you don't get your spouse involved one way or the other, you wind up getting divorced. It's as simple as that.
And sometimes you meet your spouse doing things like this. Spike and I met doing this. His group came down from Canada and I met him and we got married. In fact, today is our 21st wedding anniversary.
They got married here.
And we got married here at the park.
100 yards up the road. Most of the guys in the green uniforms here are members of a scout troop. So this is a year-round activity for the scout troop.
And this is what we growed into, what you're looking at here. The tents, the uniforms, the rifles, and everything. We've been doing reenacting now, seriously reenacting, for over 25 years. We've been to New Orleans, we've been to Fort Erie, Fort Niagara, Fort York up in Toronto, Chippewa, Lundy's Lane, Bladensburg, just about every place there was a battle during the War of 1812, we've been there.
It's something you can do as a family. It's historical, so you can learn something. And honestly, every trip you take out doing a reenactment, you learn something new. Not dealing with a cell phone at a reenactment or having cars to go back and forth. It makes you understand a little bit more about where everyone came from and how things are now. You meet people, you talk to them, you educate them sometimes you just make them smile. It becomes a hobby, and then from a hobby it becomes something that's just fun to do. So I recommend it.
The Battle of North Point stymied British plans for a land invasion in the War of 1812. This was followed by a 24-hour naval assault on Fort McHenry. The flag was raised after that battle, and Francis Scott Key was inspired to write the Star-Spangled Banner. On this bicentennial anniversary of these momentous events, volunteers created a replica by hand, just as the original was made.
People really see that this project is something that is a legacy, that is going to be around, that to have participated in it is something really powerful. And you really get that from people all over the world. Volunteers were absolutely essential to this project. The first thing we had to do was to cut the fabric, which was absolutely terrifying to me. So I had to assign that to a couple of our volunteers who are, very good at doing this, because this entire project is so big, and you just, it can be very daunting at times. Our volunteers are fabulous women, and they are real artists when it comes to stitching and sewing. and they're willing to do just about anything. So they're wonderfully enthusiastic in fundraising. They're wonderfully enthusiastic in sewing, and it's probably been the highlight of the project for me to actually be able to work with all of the people, all these volunteers that are coming in. So we've had people come in from almost every state in the Union, including Alaska and Hawaii.
We had several people from around the world. We did have a family from Hong Kong, and I had the privilege of sitting down and helping them put their stitches in. It was they were excited about it, and I was just as excited to have them here.
I'm meeting a lot of wonderful people. Hearing a lot of wonderful stories. I was actually here last Sunday for the Public Sewing Day. Saw people from all over the world, all over the country that came in to just put a stitch in the flag. And it's an exciting project. I'm so glad that I became a part of it.
It's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. I mean, we have some of the best quilters probably in the country that are in this room, some of the best sewers. And you couldn't pay to go to conferences and meet these people and have the wonderful experiences we've had.
And I thought, wow, what a great chance to be part of history. And so I've been coming up, I think this is the 6th time I've been here. I've been coming up with a couple of friends and stitching, working on the flag kits, doing just about anything that needed to be done.
This has been an outstanding experience. It's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to recreate this flag. I'm honored to have been able to do it, and I get goosebumps when I talk about it.
My name's John Lewis, and I'm skipper of this small craft out here. And I'm basically down here today because they're having a War of 1812 reenactment.
Produced by one hand pipes and drums playing against you. The pipes and drums are really important. Pipes and drums. There was a signal. I'm trying to think of a nice.
She had to make a choice.
I broke my gun. I'm really mad right now. I gave him permission to use my gun. I didn't give him permission to break it.
I got into reenactment after my wife passed away of cancer, and I'm looking for something to do, and saw in the local paper they were looking for volunteers here for the Asquith Sharpshooters, our reenactment group. We're here today. Being a volunteer, a reenactor, it gives you something to do. It keeps you out of the bars. It's meeting new people, getting to travel. It's something to have fun with, doing something constructive with your life, and educating the youngins, or shorties as they may be.
I've never been one that got caught into the computer revolution. That, believe it or not, I like real things. You can watch something on television, you can play a video game, But if you're caught on a sloop like that, when the gunfire's firing and the rain's falling and there's a good wind coming up, it's a heck of a lot different than sitting on and playing a video game.
Mention Baltimore, and this is what most people think of: riots, fires, looting, businesses destroyed, hundreds arrested. The flames and furor followed the death of a young black man in police custody. But here's a very different view of Baltimore: volunteers of many backgrounds working together for the common good. Fewer people are aware of Baltimore's reputation for helpfulness and charity, something that's developed over almost 200 years. Here at the Real Food Farm, in a giant plastic-covered greenhouse, volunteers are transplanting and pruning strawberries, learning to farm and growing food for city people who never get enough fruits and vegetables to eat.
There's always a need for volunteers. We have need in especially spring and fall, help prepping beds and getting plants out. In the summertime, we even need help with the harvest. And in the winter, we need help fixing everything that we broke all year.
Many volunteers are students.
I'm mostly here just because I love farming. It's a great escape from just like my lifestyle as a high school student, but also it's just really fun to know that the work you're doing is going straight to helping people.
It's definitely fulfilling, and it makes you realize how fortunate you are living where you live and how you live in comparison to other people who don't have what you have.
This day's volunteers include a mother and daughter.
Pretty much we grow a lot of the things that they grow here, so I learn a lot by coming that I just apply at home.
Well, I've had a couple friends volunteer with me before. They live close by to here, so because my school's around here, so I just kind of pick them up on Saturday mornings, and then we're like, okay, let's go farm.
Some students stress practical values.
And that's a really good experience. It also provides a lot of hands-on experiences outside of school to do great things like farm for the urban society.
And I believe in a way that it also helps us kind of prepare for college, because we are individuals and we are independent, doing something on our own.
The home base for projects like the farm, helping the elderly, finding jobs for the unemployed, and transforming scrubby vacant lots into community gardens is Clifton Mansion, headquarters of Civic Works, a private nonprofit corporation that's been working with the city for 20 years. Appropriately enough, Baltimore's tradition of doing good is centered in this former home of the city's best-known philanthropist, Johns Hopkins, a 19th century Maryland farm boy who became the biggest stockholder in the Baltimore and Ohio Railroad. The railroad made the city a vital national transportation link and made Johns Hopkins rich and famous. When he died in 1873, he left more than $7 million to charity.
At the time he gave the money, the $7 million was the largest single philanthropic gift in American history to that date.
Hopkins' $7 million, equal to $140 million today, went partly to establish Johns Hopkins University, now one of the world's greatest academic institutions, and partly to build this country's most highly rated hospital. Johns Hopkins Hospital and Medical School have led the way in modern American medicine. George Peabody, a visionary 19th century banker, established Baltimore's philanthropic tradition of community uplift. His gift of $1.5 million created the Peabody Institute, which includes a famous music school, art gallery, library, and concert hall. Enoch Pratt, a hardware multimillionaire, brought the city its revolutionary free library, where poor blacks as well as rich whites could borrow books for nothing. It remains the city's main library system. Baltimore's other leading 19th century philanthropists include a father and son, William and Henry Walters. William bought European art. Henry bought even more and built the Walters Art Museum. Like the Walters Museum, Clifton Mansion, Johns Hopkins's old home, is now a city-owned landmark. It's sometimes the scene of reenactments of battles around Baltimore in the War of 1812. Inside is this etching of the British bombardment of Fort McHenry in Baltimore Harbor. Francis Scott Key watched the attack from a ship and famously described the rocket's red glare and bombs bursting in air in a poem that became the words of our national anthem. One of those bombs, an unexploded cannonball filled with shrapnel, is also on exhibit. Clifton Mansion is part of a 200-year-old historic and philanthropic tradition. Adante Hart is a part of that tradition, a Johns Hopkins graduate who now teaches cooking classes and volunteers at the farm.
Definitely want to tell, my coworkers, come out to a farm, spend some hours just, putting your hands in the dirt and really just getting involved with the soil, because I think it's really something special about, getting back to the soil and seeing where your food comes from, and it helps you appreciate foods more and more.
Civic Works needs more volunteers to keep alive that vital 200-year-old Baltimore tradition, a tradition of helping others, in a city sometimes called the nation's cradle of philanthropy.
One of the mysteries of wartime science, one of the war's most closely guarded secrets, the miracle of radar, is now revealed.
The miracle of radar is one of the many technological achievements celebrated at the InfoAge Learning Center at Camp Evans. Located in Wall Township, New Jersey, the InfoAge Learning Center, staffed entirely by volunteers, endeavors to preserve the rich history of Camp Evans and spark excitement in science among its visitors, especially young students. Camp Evans is the original site of one of Guglielmo Marconi's first wireless locations, the Belmar Station. While most people are familiar with Marconi as the inventor of wireless communication, not everyone knows the tragic event which jump-started his business career.
Mr. Marconi was the hero of the Titanic disaster. How can this be? Because he wasn't even on the ship. He was invited, but unfortunately due to business pressures, he went ahead earlier on another ship and asked his wife to enjoy the Titanic crossing with the family. Luckily for the family, the infant caught a cold and Mom was not going to be caught in the middle of the ocean without a hospital nearby with a sick infant. How could he have become the hero of the disaster? He's not on board, his family's not on board, but his staff was on board and his finest ocean wireless equipment. When the Titanic hit the iceberg and the message was sent out, matter of fact, that new SOS message was used by his staff. A ship many hours away called the Carpathia heard the message and steamed to the Titanic's disaster area as quick as they could. Mr. Marconi, when he reached New York, was declared the hero of the disaster. Mr. Marconi went from the man making equipment for an industry that didn't exist to the man who owned the industry, and he reaped the financial rewards. And with those rewards, he was able to buy 9 pairs of transoceanic stations around the globe. One is the Belmar Station, which today is known as Camp Evans. Hi everyone, my name is Fred Carl. I'm the director of InfoAge, or the Information Age Learning Center, a group of volunteers here to do 2 important things: inspire kids to learn science and science history as we save this amazing historic site known as Camp Evans. And what's most exciting to us is now the site is a National Historic Landmark. Historians of technology called World War II the Radar War, and for good reason, because if it wasn't for amazing radar innovations, some of them made right here at Camp Evans and Greater Fort Monmouth, United States and the Allies could have lost the war. On the day World War II ended on August 15, 1945, There were stories, sometimes full pages, about how radar was a major reason for victory. And our favorite is the Daily News, which has a photograph of radar from Camp Evans, New Jersey, so the fathers of Army and Navy radar can trace themselves to this special place that's now a national landmark.
So I've been a volunteer here for 2 years. My role here right now is as creative director. I head up several different special projects, one of which is the restoration of these DDUs. A DDU stands for a Dymaxion Deployment Unit. They were designed by Buckminster Fuller after his 1927 Dymaxion house design. Dymaxion stands for Dynamic Maximum Tension. It was Buckminster Fuller's belief that it was an efficient design that should be thought of first. For these reasons, he was the world's really the world's first green architect. He was a pioneer in green architecture and engineering. He coined terms such as spaceship Earth and synergy. He was really the first to talk about, conserving our resources and thinking about our planet as a spaceship.
Just about everything at InfoAge gets done by volunteers. People bring unique skills to the table. I've brought the ability to work on website design. I bring a certain eye to certain projects. Other volunteers work with projects on an annual basis. We do the Camp Evans Base of Terror. We have volunteers working on network design, development, maintenance. So there are many other volunteers that are involved with things as simple as painting and cleaning up and picking up trash and gardening. A lot of different work is required. InfoAge is a terrific place with dedicated volunteers that all work together to get the job done.
Happy landings.
Unlike any you've ever taken or ever imagined before, the Library of Congress goes virtual as it welcomes visitors to its new features and exhibits. Dubbed the Library of Congress Experience, the institution invites the public to share in its state-of-the-art technology, putting the entire collection at visitors' fingertips. The library's new experience boasts 4 exhibits and features: the art and architecture of the Thomas Jefferson Building, exploring the early Americas, creating the United States, and Thomas Jefferson's Library. So grab your library passport and follow us through the new Library of Congress.
This is the $5 Confederate bill found in Abraham Lincoln's pockets on the night that he was assassinated.
These are the founding documents for the NAACP. This is the original yellow ribbon that was tied around the old oak tree during the Iran hostage crisis.
This is the sneeze that launched 1,000 film careers. And you'll find them all here at the Library of Congress.
Welcome to the Library of Congress. Although the Library of Congress was originally founded in 1800 as a small research library, today it's an experience. We're here in the Jefferson Building, where you will find that it's not just a library. With great exhibits such as the collection of Bibles, you can virtually flip through the pages of the giant Bible of Mainz at the last large handwritten book, and the Gutenberg Bible, the first printed book, along with 16 other Bibles from the library. The Thomas Jefferson Library includes books from his personal collection across a vast spectrum of languages and topics. We're here with Matt Raymond, the Director of Communications for the Library of Congress, and I hear you're spearheading the advancement of technology here at the library. Could you tell us a little bit about where it's all going?
Yes, what we are surrounded by, we call the new Library of Congress experience. We have 3 wonderful exhibitions, one in particular called Creating the United States. Historian David McCullough said is the one thing you really should see in Washington, D.C.
How does this new experience change the reputation of libraries in general?
Well, libraries are dynamic places. They really are, and this is a working library. We have about 10,000 items that come into the collections here every single day. Right now we're at about 138 million items in the collections, and surprisingly to some people, I think, only about 1/4 of those are books. We have motion pictures that come in through copyright deposit. The Copyright Office is part of the Library of Congress. Manuscript division, recorded sound, geography and map, music, sheet music, the largest collection in the world. So just about any form that information can be stored in can be found here.
A place that houses more fantastic
and inspiring ideas
than any place else in the world.
There are billions of words
in hundreds of languages.
There are more recordings,
photographs, and manuscripts,
more sheet music,
cartoons,
and movies,
more treasures,
stories and inspirations
than have ever been assembled
in one location.
The Library of Congress Jefferson Building is directly across from the Capitol Building. In December 2008, the Visitor Center will open, allowing a direct path to the Jefferson Building, giving visitors an opportunity to have direct access to the Library of Congress experience.
When the Capitol Visitor Center opens up across First Street from us, there will be an underground tunnel that will connect our building with the Capitol. That's the first time that the library will be once again physically reunited, you could say, with the Congress since we moved across the street into our own building in 1897. So we're estimating that our visitorship will probably double or triple. It's about 1.4 million now. We think that'll be about 3 or 4 million after the CVC, as they call it, opens in early December.
How can the typical visitor take this experience home with them?
Well, when you come into the Library of Congress, you will be able to interact with all of these items, and you can also do it at home on the website myloc.gov. Now, what's new coming up for us in December is that we're going to have something we call a passport to knowledge. You'll come into the library and it'll have a unique barcode on it, and if there's an item that you're interested in, if there's an exhibit that you're interested in, you just dock that passport and it automatically creates a personalized website for you with all of the items in your collection online at myloc.gov based on that unique barcode.
Whether you are in Washington, D.C., at home, or in a classroom, let the Library of Congress take you on a unique and personal journey through history. Millions of items are waiting for you. Explore, discover, and be inspired.
The Library of Congress is here
for you to explore.
It's a true national treasure.
And it's one that's worth more
every time you use it.
So touch history.
Touch history. Touch history.
And let it change the way you see the world.